My name is Marilyn Abear. I'm the hearing officer for this meeting. At this time, the agenda as published has two cases on the agenda. Case number 24-5040, Zachariah Sneesby, and case number 24-5100, Goodman Management LLC. And they're both conditional use permit cases. I would ask staff at this time if there are any changes to this agenda.
Hearing officer, there are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gonzalez, you're presenting the 24-5040 case, is that correct? Thank you. I'm not hearing it.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer Abear. Jessica Gonzalez, Building and Development Review Specialist Senior. Zachariah Sneesby, Conditional Use Permit. Zachariah Sneesby, applicant requests approval of a CUP to allow commercial greenhouse to grow cannabis indoors, cannabis microgrower on a 40-acre site. A proposed 3,000 square foot greenhouse and an existing 760 square foot structure will be utilized for growing. A 400 square foot existing cellar will be utilized to dry and cure the product as a separate building. The site is zoned residential estate. Appendix B use matrix identifies a commercial greenhouse as a conditional use within the Res E zoning district. Section 10.22.3.3 of the Sustainable Land Development Code states a cannabis producer micro business that cultivates cannabis plants indoors shall be treated the same as the following use: commercial greenhouse. The site is located at 55 South Weimer Road in Edgewood, SDA 2, Commission District 3. The applicant requests approval of a CUP to allow a commercial greenhouse to grow cannabis indoors on a 40-acre site. A proposed 3,000 square foot greenhouse and an existing 760 square foot structure will be utilized for growing. A 400 square foot cellar will be utilized to dry and cure the product as a separate building. The applicant is required to comply with the New Mexico Regulation and Licensing Department regulations pertaining to licensing and operating the facility. The applicant has obtained a New Mexico Cannabis Producer Microbusiness License, which allows a cannabis producer at a single licensed premises to possess no more than 200 total mature cannabis plants at any one time. The applicant has addressed the CUP criteria and staff has responded to the applicant's comments. Building and Development Services staff has reviewed this project for compliance with pertinent SLDC requirements and has found that the facts presented support the request for a conditional use permit to allow our proposed 3,000 square foot greenhouse and an existing 700 square foot structure to be used as a commercial greenhouse for the purpose of producing cannabis. The use is compatible with the current development within the affected zoning district. The use will not impact adjacent land uses, and the application satisfies the submittal requirements set forth in the SLDC, inclusive of the conditional use criteria set forth in Chapter 4, Section 4.9.6.5. The review comments from county staff have established that this application is in compliance with state requirements, standards identified in SLDC Section 10.22, and required design standards as set forth in the SLDC. Staff recommends approval of a conditional use permit to allow a proposed 3,000 square foot greenhouse and an existing 760 square foot structure to be utilized as a commercial greenhouse for the purpose of producing cannabis indoors, subject to the following conditions. If the hearing officer finds that the conditional use permit request has met the criteria and recommends approval of the CUP, staff recommends the following conditions be imposed. Madam Hearing Officer Abear, may I enter these conditions into the record?
Yes, please.
Thank you. This report and exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Staff requests the hearing officer memorialize findings of fact and conclusions of law in a written recommended order. The Santa Fe Planning Commission may be holding a public hearing on this matter on August 15th, 2024. Thank you. At this time, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Do you know whether on Exhibit 5, which is the fire department report, have those conditions been met?
Hearing Officer Aber, I do believe there is a turnaround when we went to the site. As far as the other conditions, I am not sure.
And does the fire department make a follow-up on these conditions? Do you know?
Hearing Officer Aber, I do believe they make a follow-up on these conditions.
Another matter is the applicant, the name for the applicant as it appears in the newspaper notice is Sneezing Bee Farm LLC. Is that your understanding?
Hearing Officer Aber, that is how we noticed, and once my report was reviewed by our legal department, it was brought to my attention that the LLC is no longer in effect through the Secretary of State, so we changed it to the applicant's name after the legal noticing had already been posted.
So the applicant is Zachariah Sneezeby. Is that correct?
Hearing Officer Aber, that is correct.
Sole proprietor, I suppose, yeah. Other thing was just housekeeping is the exhibits, the numbering for the exhibits all mesh me with it going through number 5, and then number 6 is marked as the state engineer report. And number 7 is a multi-page note regarding the notice and with the mailing, the publication, the posting. I don't have an Exhibit 8. Is there an Exhibit 8? Because then it skips to an Exhibit 9, which is the packet on the pre-application neighborhood meeting report.
Hearing Officer, Exhibit 8 is the neighborhood meeting.
If you're looking on the board docs, I can understand why you'd say that, because they aren't lining up, because the neighborhood meeting report is actually marked, physically marked as Exhibit 9. And so I couldn't find anything that actually had an Exhibit 8 on it.
Yes, ma'am, and I'm gonna let you know that we are actually changing our formatting process for both Hearing Officer and Planning Commission. So next meeting, you'll see a more standardized exhibit order and reports than you've seen before. We're changing the way we're doing it to make sure things like this don't happen again.
Okay, so could we just have an agreement here that there is no Exhibit 8?
I would agree with that.
Okay. So then we go to what I have marked as Exhibit 10, which the staff marked as Exhibit 10, which is the site. It's a multi-page with the first page being the drawing of the site. Is that your understanding?
Hearing Officer Aber, it was marked Exhibit 10, but it is Exhibit 9 on board docs.
So for the purposes of the record, we're going to have to choose a number. And since we have 9 for the neighborhood meeting marked, the site should be 10 as it's marked. Is that your all's understanding?
That is correct.
Okay. And then what had shown up as Exhibit 10, which is the RLD license, would actually be Exhibit 11, because 10's already taken.
That is correct.
Okay. So just wanted to clear that up for the record. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. That's all the questions I had.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Aber.
Will the applicant come forward for his testimony?
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, I do. My name is Zach Sneesby. Address? I live at 25 Yerba Buena, Cerrillos, New Mexico, 87010.
And are you here just to affirm all the information that you provided in the CUP application?
Yes.
So my understanding from reviewing this is that there's no one that resides on this property, is that correct?
Yes, it's just a property I bought for commercial venture.
Okay. And so far as employees, how many employees do you anticipate having?
I only have me so far, and then I did hire my neighbor at the end for security purposes. So he's actually watching my property for me and lets me know if anything goes on.
Okay. Well, all of the other information seems to be in order. I believe you've answered my questions. Let me just check through. Did staff have any questions for the applicant?
Hearing Officer Aber, we do not have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sneesby.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone in this room that wants to speak in favor or in opposition to this application? No? Is there anyone on WebEx?
No, ma'am, there's nobody who is indicating they wish to speak.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, there is a Miss Orr that would like to speak.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Nora Orr, Edgewood, Santa Fe County. I would just like to voice my opposition.
Just a
I want
moment.
to swear you in. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth?
Yes,
And please state your name and address for the record.
Nora Orr, Camino Coyote, Edgewood, New Mexico.
Thank you.
All right, Ms.
I
Orr.
would just, thank you. I would just like to voice my opposition to this business, given the fact that New Mexico is still experiencing a severe drought. The water table in the Estancia Basin is not replenishing the way that it should. We have a local farm here that can no longer produce the amount of vegetables that they used to because their well has gone dry, in addition to many other wells around this area. There are several cannabis farms in Torrance County. A new one just applied for a permit over the last month, and now this one. So I would just like to say I'm opposed to this particular business, and I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Orr, for your comments. Is there anyone else who wants to speak to this application?
Hearing officer, there is nobody else online.
All right, thank you. I will present a recommended order for the Planning Commission within 15 business days. Thank you for your attendance. This time, we'll call the second case, which is 24-5100 Goodman Management LLC, also a conditional use permit.
Good afternoon, Hearing Officer Aber. My name is Maggie Valdez. I'm a Develop Review Specialist Senior. Today I come before you with case number 24-5100, 18 Erica Road Storage Facility, Conditional Use Permit and Variance. Goodman Management LLC, owner, Lloyd and Associates Architects, agent, request approval of a CUP to allow the expansion of an existing mini storage facility. The applicant proposes to construct 4 new buildings, F, 2,016 square feet, 13 storage units, building H, 2,900 square feet, 10 storage units, building I, 4,500 square feet, 30 storage units, and buildings J, 7,100 square feet. 32 storage units. The variance request is to allow to build prevailing setbacks. The overlay zoning requires a 25-foot setback from the front of the property and a 50-foot setback from the sides and back property line. The point of these setbacks in the overlay is to give buffer to residential homes that border the commercial developments. However, no residential uses are in the area of the property. The 3.443 acre site is within the La Cienega and La Cieneguilla Community District overlay and is zoned as commercial neighborhood. Use Table 9-815 illustrates the mini warehouse, mini storage units, and conditional use within the commercial neighborhood zoning subdistrict. The site is located at 18 Erica Road. Summary. The applicant requests approval of a conditional use permit is to add 4 storage buildings to the existing storage facility. The variance request is to allow to build prevailing setbacks. The overlay zoning requires 25 feet setbacks from the front of the property and 50 feet setbacks from the sides and the back property line. The point of these setbacks in the overlay is to give buffer to the residential homes that border the commercial developments. However, no residential uses are in the area of the property. Additionally, all the existing buildings violate this setback. The owner proposes that the existing setbacks on the site of 20 feet be followed as this is in keeping the underlying zoning. The applicant proposes to construct 4 new buildings. Building F, 2,600 square feet, 13 storage unit buildings H, 2,900 square foot, 10 storage units, building I, 4,500 square foot, 30 storage units, and building J, 7,100 square foot, 32 units. The third, the 3.443 acre site is within the La Cienega and La Cieneguilla Community District overlay. In response to the variance criteria, the applicant states the following. The applicant has addressed the CUP criteria and staff has responded to the application comments. In response to the variance criteria, the applicant states the following. The applicant has addressed the variance criteria and staff has responded to the application comments. The applicant has addressed the applicable design standards as required by the SLDCs. Building and Development Services, staff has reviewed this project for compliance with the pertinent SLDC requirements and has found that the facts presented support the request for a conditional use permit to allow the expansion of the existing mini storage facility, constructing 4 new buildings that consist of 2,000 square feet with 13 storage units, 2,900 square foot with 10 storage units, and 4,500 square foot with 30 storage units. 7,100 square foot with 32 units on the 3.443 acre site. The use is compatible with the current development within the affected zoning district. The use will not impact adjacent land uses, and the application satisfies the submittal requirements set forth in the SLDCs, inclusive of the conditional use criteria set forth in Chapter 4, Section 4.9.65. The review comments from the State Historic Preservation Office and county staff have established findings that the application to allow 4 new storage units is in compliance with the state requirements standards identified in SLDC Section 9-12-3, the required design standards set forth in Chapter 7, SLDC. The staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit to allow subject to the following conditions. Hearing Officer Baer may enter the conditions into the record.
Yes, please.
This report and the exhibits listed below are hereby submitted as part of the hearing record. Staff requests the hearing officer memorize findings of fact and conclusion of all in a written recommended order. The Santa Fe County Planning Commission may be holding a public hearing on this matter on August 15, 2024. Hearing Officer Aber. I stand for questions.
Thank you. I have a couple of,
Okay.
excuse me, a couple of questions. Looking at the specific self-storage facilities provisions of the code, section 10.13, there's a list of 7 standards, and one of those relates to the total area covered by the buildings. And I noticed in the Technical Advisory Committee meeting back in October, there was a request that the applicant submit the computations on, with this additional proposed storage unit, whether it would come within that no more than 50% the coverage of the almost 5 acre property. Do you know if they ever received those computations?
On the drawings, we have received them. I think it would be on exhibit. It's exhibit. Okay, so if you go down to your exhibits, go to. Okay, we can start off. Falling under 4. So if you go to exhibits for 4,
All right.
you go down, you're gonna see like a little map, and then there's your whole drawing of all the setbacks and everything there.
This is page, I think, 4.
Go to 4, yeah, and exhibit 4, you go down.
Exhibit 4,
And
page
also-
5, is that what I'm looking at with all of the rectangular storage units? And my question goes to this,
And then also on exhibit 2, it also shows that.
and it appears to be quite dense. I'm just trying
Okay.
to establish whether, in working out, whether or not it conforms with the no more than 50% coverage of the area. My math, just in a rough
So,
estimate,
I
it
don't,
looks,
I think you're right, Ms. Bear, but the reason for all of this is because that's why they're asked, also in the report, you'll see there that we combined it, they're asking for variance as well.
so they're
There's-
asking for a
it's-
variance
yes,
on the
conditional use,
50%?
Yes, ma'am, conditional
As-
use and variance.
Well, I thought the variance was just to the setback, but this is
Here-
also
Hearing officer, if on the site plan, it shows on there that they are roughly at a 1/3 covered with buildings, so 2/3 would be open.
it looks more dense than that, doesn't it, when you look at
It does look like that, but they're at 48,954 square feet, and they are at 1.443 acres, so 149,977 square feet total for the lot.
Okay. Well, it's at 43,000?
It's on Exhibit 2, it's on the front page of Exhibit 2, under the project summary.
My Exhibit 2 has 2 pages, and neither one of those is a summary.
It's on the project summary, it's on the right-hand side of the page. It's on the drawing itself.
Oh, okay. And somewhere in this little tiny. Okay, thank you.
No, 42,360.
So were you all dealing with about 43,000 total square footage for the 3.5 acres? Is that what you were,
Yes, ma'am.
okay.
That's 3.4. Okay.
Oh, I see, so that'd be 152,000 square feet. So they'd be entitled to 76,000 coverage, and
That is correct.
that's not, even though it looks like it's not that
Yeah,
dense.
that is correct.
Okay, so that one is fine, there's no problem with that standard, and the other standard is they're proposing 20 feet all the way around rather than the 25 feet around the sides and 50 in the front, is that right? So it'd be 20 all the way around. I understand that there's no residential in the area, just apparently an RV park. But what about the property that is potentially residential? I mean, there's a factor there that I don't know how we'd know if people owning property maybe were planning to build something.
When I went out there, the property was pretty much, when I drove in, there was an RV park, and then they're also here too, they could also like explain a little bit more to you, and then right next to it was where the storage facility was, and it automatically went in there, but everything's just real fenced up really nicely, and it's real clean, and that's all I saw out there. And then you see the lagoon. If you look at all the pictures, because I took several pictures just so that you could be able to see everything that's around there. So there's no, I didn't see any homes close by the facility.
And as far as some of the other standards, the facility is screened from view along the property line?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's got a fence at least
Yes.
6 feet in height?
Yes, it is, and it's all covered up.
Okay. So in the staff report itself, there is a definite statement that staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit, but I didn't see the same statement as to the proposed variance. But it sounds like the variance staff is just assuming their recommendation of the approval. Is that correct?
That is correct, hearing officer. The recommendation was put on there, and right now the policy of growth management is to recommend denial of any variance. That is just the policy of growth management.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
This was unusual that there wasn't one way or another. So would staff consider this to be an easing of those setback requirements because of the nature of the surrounding property?
Well, I can answer, and then maybe you guys can help me out. I feel that the property already has the storages on there. They're just asking for variance because the way the storages were placed before. Am I correct?
Hearing Officer Aber, the way we look at this property is it's predominantly surrounded by commercial, and it is an existing use that's already been in place prior to the SLDC.
Yes, since the early 2000s.
Correct, and it's a hard situation where you have all these surrounding commercial properties. It would be hard for them to meet any type of setback as the structures are already on the property, and there would be no way that the setbacks could be adhered to.
And what is the specific zoning for this property? Did I miss that? It's certainly possible.
The zoning here is a commercial neighborhood.
Hearing Officer Aber, that is correct.
District.
So it's the commercial zoning.
Hearing Officer Aber, that's correct.
All right, thank you, that helps. Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Do you want this one back? If the applicant would come and speak about this application, please.
Wayne Lloyd with Lloyd and Associates Architects. And Kea Lim.
Kea Lim from Lloyd and Associates Architects.
740 St. Michael's Drive, Suite 4A. I think I'd like to start with a little bit of confusion or correction, which is the present setback on the sides are 25 feet.
Okay.
While our variance request is listing a 20-foot setback, we really meant to say 25 feet. We want to be in line with the buildings that are already there, and they're set back 25 feet. So even though our variance is saying 20, we want to be back 25 feet, in line with the surrounding buildings. So that's really the only correction. And otherwise, we're screened already from the front entry. We are holding on to the same setback that all of the other buildings were already built to. We're well within the, well under the 50%. We're closer to 33% of lot coverage. So with that, I guess I stand for questions.
Thank you. So that was very helpful. So it's not the 20 feet that presently everything there is 25 feet. And
That's my
everything-
understanding, is that it's already at 25 feet.
And everything proposed will still be within the 25 feet. Well, I think that cleared up most of the questions I had. Is there a resident, there was reference to a residence on the area. Is that a full-time residence or, am I mistaken? Was there no residence?
I think you're referring to Building T, and that's not really a permanent residence there. I believe it's a rental of some sort.
So is that a caretaker?
Yes,
I think
that's
so.
what they've been using it for.
And so it's not a full, is it operated 24 hours a day, or is it just operated during daylight? Do you know?
So the entrance to the property,
Is a controlled entrance, and each individual person that stores stuff there has a code to be able to get in. I don't know if they control if that gets turned off at a certain hour, like 10 o'clock, or not. I can find out.
I guess I was just trying to determine whether or not there was anyone that was there as like a manager of the property, but it doesn't sound like there is, or it doesn't sound like y'all know whether it is.
no ma'am, their main office is actually just maybe a couple of miles away, and that's
Yeah,
how they
it's at
manage
another
the
storage
property.
facility
I
that they
see.
own.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does staff have any other questions for the applicant? No? Okay, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the room who is wanting to make comment on this, either in favor or in opposition? No? Is anybody WebEx?
Hearing officer, there is nobody online in which to speak.
Ms. Valdez, I didn't ask you, but did staff receive any written comments on this?
Hearing officer, we have received no for or against regarding this case, written correspondence.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right, well, I will issue a recommended order on this case within 15 business days. Thank you for your attendance. Are there any matters other than this that we need to consider today?
No, ma'am, there are not.
All right, thank you. With that, we will conclude this hearing. Thank you for your attendance.